Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we are going to talk about passing array into functions. So passing array into the function parameter. So before we get started, please if you enjoyed the video, you learned a thing or two, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any suggestions and if you want me to make any videos on a certain topic, please drop it in the comments. Okay, so let's get started and let's simply make a function that is going to add the indexes inside of an array. So just an array, and then we need the length of the elements in the array. Now, let's go ahead and implement it. Let's say array, and then let's say we have length. Okay. Now, you might ask yourself, first of all, why are we passing length in the array? Into the parameter where we have it as a parameter. So basically, when in C++, when we pass an array as a parameter, it decays into a pointer. So when we try to retrieve the length of the array, we're just going to get the incorrect value. So to put it into the test, let's say we have an array and then we are going, let's say 10, 15, 20, 30, and 40, right? And let's say we want to get the length. Now, as usual when we do that, we simply get the size of array divided by the size of the data type, which is int. In this case, right, in this case, the size is going to be the length, sorry, is right. Now let's try to do the same exact thing, but let's try to do it in here. Int length, and let's just call it count, size array over size of int, and then let's try to go ahead and return that. Let's go ahead and call the function. The int res equal to sum, and then we're going to pass in the array, and we could just pass in the length, we're not using it. And then let's just go ahead, print it, and then put result. And let's go ahead and run this. As you see, the length is different. That is because when we pass an array into the function as a parameter, it decays into a pointer, so we're unable to retrieve the count of elements inside the array. So that's why we always pass the length as a function parameter. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. Let's say we simply want to traverse through the array and then less than length, and then better increment it, right? Okay. So we have different ways of doing it, right? So let's say we want to create a variable and we're going to call it sum equal to 0. And let's say sum, we're simply going to get the index at the array. So this is going to work, right? But there are other ways. Now, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, is that the array is going to decay into a pointer. So basically, when an array is passed into a function, it is treated as a pointer, right? So what we can do in this case is that we can basically go ahead, grab the sum like this, and then we can increment the array position, and then we can go ahead and dereference it. Now, what do we mean by this when we are incrementing the array position? If we try to if we take a look at, let's go ahead, incrementing array. So what does that exactly do? Let's go ahead and do that, and then a new line, and then let's just return 0. What is that doing? It is incrementing the memory address of that at that array, right? So basically just incrementing the index. And when we try to dereference it, we are dereferencing at that memory address. So when we say sum is equal to the array on to the index of that array, and we can simply go ahead and return sum, and then we can print it out. The result is the result is 140. Okay, so let's say we want to do something even better. Right now, as you see here, we are returning an integer, correct? So let's say instead of doing that, let's say we want to do something which is called pass by reference. So let's say we want to add another parameter, and in here we want to simply pass by reference, right? And then, so in here we want to take, let's call it, we'll call the result, right? Okay. And then instead of int, we want to change it to void, and we want to change this to void, right? So what? Just to show what we did, basically we just added one more parameter, and we are going to pass it by reference. So we are going to pass the memory address into the function, and we changed the data type from integer to void. Now I'll show you why we changed it into void. So basically, now that we have this variable, we can go ahead and get rid of sum, and we can simply pass in, replace it with a result, correct? And just like this, now we don't need to return any variable. Now over here, what we can do is we can create another variable, call it result, initialize it to 0, and simply, when you're passing by reference, you simply just put it in the argument, and then if we try to print out the result, you will get 142. So this is a very cool concept where you don't really have to, return, you don't have a return type, and instead you pass something by reference and then you store it in here. This is a very common way in C++. Um, so just to reiterate on what we spoke about in this video is basically arrays, when they are passed as a function parameter, they are treated as pointers. You want to pass in the length or the count of the elements. Do not confuse length and size of the array. We want to pass in the elements, the count of the elements or the length of the array in the function parameter, so we don't lose the information because the array decays into a pointer. And we can also use pass in a variable by reference to go ahead and store the result. Okay, so we have reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, you learned a thing or two, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.